My name is Jurgita Lapienytė. I'm editor-in-chief at Cybernews, publication based in Vilnius, Lithuania, but we have colleagues all over the world deep diving into cybersecurity topics every day. I'm not here to scare you. Cybersecurity is quite a scary field, right? Rather, I'm here to provide you with some actionable, points that you can do if you want to, and obviously you want to protect your businesses. So to quickly run through my agenda today, we did an exclusive cyber news research just for this conference that I will present. We scanned 95 top enterprises in the countries that are bordering the Atlantic. We wanted to evaluate their external cybersecurity posture. I will also run you through the double-edged sword of AI, talking about how rapid implementation of AI, a rushed one, can end up in cascading data breaches, and how the failure to innovate fast can also have the very same results. And I will give you a brief glimpse into the daily dark web that we see every day, and what is the worst case scenario if you don't take care of the small things of what seems like trivial breaches, trivial things, right? So let me start from an exclusive research that we prepared. So we evaluated the external cybersecurity of 95 companies that are headquartered in the countries that are bordering the Atlantic, and we did that by external and passive scanning of those countries, and we assessed them in 7 key areas, right? So from software patching to their data breach history, right? And we gave them grades from 0 to 100, and then we evaluated them, giving them either grades from A to F. And here's, before I give you a brief glimpse of the results, I just want to say that external passive scanning that we did is not an indication of existing vulnerabilities, rather a signal that there are some potential vulnerabilities, and therefore we chose not to name those companies because our goal is not to name and shame them, but rather to point out to the fact that every country and every industry could actually do better. All the companies that I am talking about, they are in the top 20 when it comes to market capitalization in their respected countries. So meaning they are big companies with the resources to invest in cybersecurity, right? So here are the results at a glance. And as I mentioned before, most organizations didn't do well. Actually, 85% of them scored D or worse. Only 5 organizations did really well, and we gave them an A grade. Another 3 got B grade. It's no surprise that financial services and banking and telecommunications as well, they do remain the most protected sectors, right? While pharmaceutical and manufacturing, they remain the weakest one, and Latin America is the strongest region, and Africa remains to be the weakest. So here's the map. I have two slides. I will not go into every country. If you want, again, reach out to me. I can give you and send you the whole report going into detail of the grading and each individual country. I just want to briefly run through the key factors, key risk areas that we assessed. We looked into software patching, meaning how well and how fast companies apply different patches issued, because it is very important as vulnerabilities surface every day, and so companies need to apply those patches as soon as possible. And unfortunately, we see that this is often not the case. We also paid a lot of attention to the how well organizations protected their customer data, intellectual property data in the past, meaning their past data breaches. Besides that, we also looked into how well companies evaluate protect their email communications, also where their systems are being hosted. Encryption protocols as well. Overall, what I want to emphasize that the country averages here are strikingly close. They sit in the band somewhere between, as you see, 68 to 76, meaning that the baseline security is pretty much the same in every country. And again, I want to emphasize that here we are talking about top players in their countries, top players in their markets, meaning companies that have the means to invest in cybersecurity, right? And we can still say that each of them in every country, each company could actually do way better. And yeah. So there's that, and it also brings me to the second part of my presentation, which is the double-edged sword of AI. As I mentioned, if you rush implementing its solutions, it can result in cascading breaches, same as not fixing these flaws. But also, if you fail to innovate at scale, that can also have the same results. So yeah, let me briefly run through one of the cases that we recently checked. So we've been doing a lot of research about AI chatbots because everyone seems to be using them. Companies simply to be implementing them, even though, as we saw by the recent report from the MIT, right, is that companies do that even when they don't see those pilots paying off. So I want to present you the case of Lenovo's chatbot, Lenovo's Lena. Lenovo's chatbot Lena is a customer service bot built on top of OpenAI's GPT-4, and it is used to help as a help for customers who are using one of the Lenovo's devices who want to buy, right? And what we did, our white hat hackers in the company, what they did, they broke the bot by a simple 400 symbol prompt. It's not that simple for us, but it's really simple for hackers, right? It was a sneaky prompt, but essentially one prompt, a rather short one, led to the theft of active session cookies, which essentially meant that it opened us a backdoor into the company's internal systems. Now, since we are the good guys, obviously we reported the findings to the company. They closed the flaw. It was a vulnerability assigned, the number assigned to that. They fixed it, and then we reported the findings publicly. But the bad guys are, also very fast to discover such flaws, and if they were like threat actors who would have discovered such a flaw, they would have accessed various Lenovo internal systems, right? And meaning they would have found a backdoor. So why is that important in the wider context? Because a lot of companies are rushing AI solutions, and they overlook sometimes very simple things. Like this bot in particular, it was able to converse in the programming language, and that's probably something you don't want a bot to do if it's only supposed to converse with the customer, helping them out. So you should definitely, if you are implementing a AI solution that is supposed to converse with users, you should limit what it can say, obviously. And even though companies are trying to save money, you shouldn't save when it comes to security, right? And there always should be someone monitoring the solution in this case, and simply checking what that bot is doing, because as any AI tool, as any AI solution, it needs constant upgrade and constant checks. So in this case, you might think, oh, okay, maybe then we don't rush AI implementation, but this is also not the case, because what we also see from our recent survey that we did is that people in the companies that don't rush the AI implementation, AI solutions, actually end up with the same risk of data breaches, because 59% of employees say they use AI tools that were unapproved by employer. A lot of those people actually also pay for those tools themselves. They do it in secret for many reasons. Sometimes it's because employer hasn't approved, the company doesn't have strict set of rules of how it should be done, but sometimes people are simply afraid to lose their jobs, that they would never admit to using those tools. The problem here is that 75% of people who use AI for work purposes feed sensitive company information there, meaning, again, intellectual property, financial documents, codes, different company plans, also customer information, very, very sensitive data. And this is not some theoretical risk. We saw companies like Samsung or Disney falling for it, and their credentials being exposed because some employees used tools that weren't approved by the company. But again, there's no simple answer to this. Obviously, as a company, you need to have those set of rules, but that's not enough, because those companies that use OpenAI's ChatGPT or other tools, they are still not 100% immune. We did the same scan as we did with those companies in the countries bordering Atlantic. We did the same scan with different AI tools, different AI solutions, right? And we can say that they also fall short when it comes to their cybersecurity. For example, OpenAI's ChatGPT got only a D on that rating, meaning they could also do way better. So even if you have those tools approved, it's still not a bulletproof solution, right? And why I'm talking about this, seemingly very small flaw, very small things can result, again, in data breaches, and some of them are really, they can bring businesses down on their knees. This is glimpse into the daily dark web. This is what we see every day by checking the blogs from ransomware groups. And as you can see, there are some big companies here like Stellantis, McDonald's, KFC, ASICS, and others. They've been claimed by ransomware gangs on the dark website, meaning that the crooks, they are bragging that they breached those companies. Obviously, in many cases, those claims are over-exaggerated. They are used as PR stunt, because criminals do the same, or it is part of the tactics to pressure companies into paying. But it just showcases us that really no company, no sector is immune when it comes to criminals. There's no morals here. And Here I wanted to show you some statistics. Our sister company, Nordstellar, recently released a quarterly ransomware report. And they said that just between this January and September, there's been 6,000 documented ransomware cases, and that signifies a 50% increase from the last year's same period. This shows that ransomware is on the rise, right? And I want to stress that this is just documented ransomware cases, meaning the blog posts that we saw on the dark web, and there are way more cases because a lot of them are being swept under the rug. Some companies get ransomed for seemingly small amounts, just $2,000, $3,000, $5,000. But imagine for a family business, even that amount of money is devastating, and they decide to pay that amount, and they never even end up in the statistics. So the situation is actually way worse. And what we can also see is that manufacturing sector is being hit the most, not because of recently, big ransomware cases and big cyber attacks in the UK, but also we saw over 240 manufacturing businesses being hit by ransomware in just 3 months' time, showing that they are really inclined to pay the ransom because the downtime cost is just too big for them. And another tendency that we can read out of the statistic is that actually cyber criminals favor smaller businesses because, again, they don't have the knowledge, sometimes the IT support, the means to go and investigate this further. They also fear the reputational damage. Again, there's fines if there are customer user data involved, and so on. To sum up, if you want to avoid, and you do want to avoid such a terrible disaster as ransomware, I suggest you start small. As it was mentioned here before, a lot of problems can be avoided if you do a few simple things. And if you still need lack motivation, I would suggest simply by reading cyber-related news every day, because you can learn a lot from others' mistakes, and this is definitely the point where you want to learn as much as possible from other mistakes and not the ones of your own. So thank you so much. Feel free to reach out.